So all week long, we've kind of had this unintentional theme going of man versus machine on this channel. I didn't plan on it, it just sort of happened because over the weekend we reviewed the new film Upgrade. Then over on Twitch at twitch.tv/ProfessorThorgy, we've been playing a ton of Detroit Become Human. Earlier today on Thorgy's Picks, we talked about Descender. So it feels only fair that today on Comic Class, I continue that theme of man versus machine and talk about digital comics. Because earlier this month, Comixology ended up launching their very first line of Comixology Originals. Now, for anybody who does not know, Comixology is the largest, in fact, now that I think about it, probably only distributor of digital comic books. I actually love Comixology. I promote them all the time. They do amazing sales over on their channel. And if you have the Comixology Unlimited program like I do, then you get a pretty decent discount on all the books that you purchase there, including brand new books. And before I continue, I just want to point out, no, this is not an ad for Comixology. I am not getting paid by them. I just really like their service. Although if Comixology does want to pay me to do an ad for their service, then I would be more than happy to. You know, that's a whole other thing. I'll discuss that. Comixology, call me. So no, I am not being paid to promote Comixology, which will become obvious in just a second. But a lot of people were asking me to come in here and talk about Comixology's new line of original books. Talk about what it could possibly mean for the future of comic books, what could it mean for Comixology, and they wanted me to come in here and just give you a quick little review of each of the titles, which was really easy for me to do because, as I said, I have Comixology Unlimited, so I was able to read all of their original books for free. As I said, Comixology Unlimited is a pretty darn good deal, but again, not here to promote them. And to go ahead and prove that, let me just go ahead and say, I think it is awesome that Comixology is launching their own original titles. I think that there should be more indie companies out there, especially indie companies that have the power to promote themselves. A lot of brand new indie companies just sprout up and then kind of fizzle out and fade from existence because nobody really knows about them. Comixology, hey man, as I said, they are the go-to people if you want digital comics. So if they want to create their own line of original titles, they do have a great place to market all of that. They can put that big sign right on the front of their site and say, hey, original books right here. I mean, I just went online today on Wednesday to check out my brand new books. And yeah, man, right there on the front of the page, even though Justice League #1 came out, the big thing everyone's talking about today, what was the front article on Comixology? Our original books. So yeah, man, if an indie company out there has the ability to promote itself like that, I'm all in favor of it. Here's my problem though. This is a really small-ass selection to start your original books. I keep thinking of other recent companies that started up and what they were able to promote, like Aftershock. Aftershock is one of the best indie companies out there, and when they started up, they got all these big name people to come on board, and I don't know how they were able to convince them to write books for them, but yeah man, they had the star power to back that up, and they put out there a ton of books right there at the start. And yeah, Aftershock still doing pretty darn decent. I still check out all their stuff. I'm still excited when they have a brand new book coming out. A lot of people still talk about Aftershock. But Comixology Original, they only have 4 books that they are starting their company off with, and nobody really knows anybody working on these books. Don't get me wrong, all in favor of Comixology going to lesser known writers, going to brand new talent and saying, hey, we want to give you the opportunity to promote yourself. I think that is awesome, good for you. But yeah, man, you need some razzle dazzle in there. You need something to get people talking. And I don't know if these 4 books have that kind of star power to really get you started. It does feel kind of odd that these were the 4 titles that they decided to start their company off with, especially considering that 2 of those titles are written by the exact same person, so you really only have 3 writers behind these books. Don't get me wrong, you have other artists on there, but still, that's a very small selection of creative talent that you are now promoting as, yeah, they're the people kicking off our original comics. Yeah, it feels like you needed to go bigger with this. That being said, I am standing up here and talking about it, so it doesn't really matter. As I said, Comixology is so big in the comic book industry that, yeah man, maybe they don't need the big names to come on board just yet. Maybe they can come on later, which they have said that they do have some other creators coming on later this year to do their own original series. And I was looking at a list of some of the people they have planned coming up, and I was like, oh shoot, those are actually some decent names. Feels like maybe you should have held off on this until their books were ready and put them out at the start of this. Again, there's only 4 titles, and considering that with Comixology Unlimited, you don't even have to pay for this. You can just read it all for free. You can just cruise on by those. Yeah, it feels like maybe you should have had a bigger roster of titles. Yeah, it feels kind of small what they're offering right now. So I'm very interested in what the future of the Comixology original line is going to be, because an indie company needs to blow the doors down when they show up with their starting lineup, and this starting lineup is not blowing the doors down. These 4 titles ain't doing that. But Comixology doesn't need to follow the rules of a regular indie company. Comixology could have this completely tank and they would be just fine because they make all their money off of just selling other people's digital comics. Comixology can have this thing completely tank and then still go, yeah, we don't care. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to double the number of books that we have coming out. In fact, we're going to keep all those books around that didn't sell at all, and we're going to keep them coming back year after year. You know why? Because we're Comixology. We're the #1 name in digital comics. What are you going to do? Go back to the physical store? You ain't gonna do squat. Once you get hooked on digital, there's no going back. So you can talk all you want on your YouTubes about how this ain't an impressive lineup. We're gonna be just fine. And you know something? Yeah, they're gonna be just fine. Comixology can do whatever they want with this. But I am intrigued to see what other titles will come in the future from this, because one of my kind of complaints that I have about these 4 titles is that I look at them and I go, I don't think any of these actually were made for Comixology. Because you have one book in here, Savage Game, which is an original graphic novel that was made by another company, and I look at that and go, it was made for another company, but that company wasn't able to distribute it, so they came to you, and you guys decided to pick it up, which means this thing was already made. It was not made for you, it just already existed, and they just sold it to you. Then there's another title in here, Superfreaks, which has all 5 issues of it out right here at the start. Nobody makes an original title for this brand new lineup, and they just decide, you know what, I'm just gonna give you all the issues that we have right up here at the front. They already had all 5 issues ready to go. They had all of them ready and were just looking for someone to buy it up, and Comixology decided to buy it up. Then there's another one in here, Elephant Men 2261. Elephant Men is a title that has been existing at Image forever. So this was already a book that existed, and Comixology just bought it up. And there's another book in here, Ask for Mercy, which is from the writer of Elephant Men. So that's the one that I look at like, okay, that one I think was actually made for you guys. I think that after you bought up Elephant Men, you said, hey, that's great. Can you make us something else? That's like the only one that I look at in this lineup and I go, this feels like it was actually made for the Comixology original line. Every single one of these other books feel like Comixology said, we're going to launch our own company and we just really need books. Find whoever has a book available right now, ready to go. So I think that in the future, if this is a success, or as I said, even if it is not a success because Comixology on its own is a success, I think that Comixology is going to come in here and start creating their own books. I think this original lineup of 4 titles was really just Comixology coming in here and showing that they could do it. They needed to come in here and prove to all the other writers out there who they wanted to convince to come on board and write stuff for them, hey, we are serious about putting out an original line. Look, we have an original line now. It's one of those things where if you want to sell your product to someone, you kind of have to have something to show them. And that's what this original 4-book lineup feels like. It feels like what Comixology is going to use to prove to other people out there, we are serious about making original books. Please come and make an original book for us. All right, let's go ahead and actually look at these 4 titles, because I know a lot of people out there who don't have Comixology Unlimited and can't just go ahead and check this out for free are curious, are these worth my money? Should I go ahead and check these out? We're going to start with Superfreaks, which is a book all about Rick James battling Charlie Murphy, and my audience is way too young to get that reference. There are like 2 references in that one joke, and I don't think anyone in my target demographic actually understands either of them. But no, Super Freaks is a great idea for a book. I love the premise behind this. It is basically a storyline about a world where there are superheroes, but there's also sidekicks. And all the sidekicks are the teenage superheroes who they don't get any respect. The media looks at them as jokes. They look at them as just the little tiny Boy Scouts, and they're like, yeah, you're not gonna save the day. The big super manly superheroes, they're the ones who are going to actually protect us. And then one day, during a giant, massive comic book style event, all the heroes disappear, and all that's left are the sidekicks. And now they're the ones who have to stand up in front of the media going, yeah, we're looking into this. We're trying to figure out where all the heroes went, but don't worry, we're here, we're gonna protect it. And the media is like, no, you aren't, you're the sidekicks. No one is expecting you to come and save them. Oh my God, we're all doomed. So yeah, I love the concept behind this book, and they do some really creative stuff with it. Like for example, even the supervillains in this world had sidekicks, but all the supervillains are gone too, and there's a moment in which the hero sidekicks have to stop one of the villain sidekicks after they've robbed this bank. They grab the villain's bag, open it up, and go, wait, this bag is empty. And then the villain goes, yeah, the villain I worked for, they kind of were always the one who robbed the bank. I mean, I might have gone in there every now and again, but they always handled the vault. And typically, I didn't even get inside. I was always forced to just stay and watch the car. So I decided I could do this on my own, but when I actually got in there, yeah, that's when I realized I don't actually know how to open up a bank vault. So I was kind of just running out of there without stealing anything when you guys caught me. I was like, that's actually really darn fun. I really dig this. Also, the artwork in this book is fantastic. I love the art in this book. I love that it has these very soft, round edges to everything because this is a lighthearted book. So the way in which they were able to color and design all these characters, it really did capture that. Also, I really dig a couple of the character designs. There's a couple in here who I don't really care for. Like there's two of the sidekicks in there who I think have really bland outfits. But the main character who we're following and the main supervillain who we're following, I actually think they have great costumes. However, here comes one of my complaints with this book. As I mentioned, this book is going for a lighter tone. It's going for something quirky. It's going for something charming. And there are moments where they pull that off wonderfully. And there are other moments where they don't really pull that off. And there's a lot of moments where it's kind of in between. Like, I'd say about 20% of the time they really pull off what they're going for. 20% of the time they don't pull off what they're going for. And the other 60% of the time it's right there in that middle, which is like, I guess yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's not bad. I guess that works. Like, a great example of one of the times in which this charming, fun tone really does pay off. There's a moment in which all the sidekicks are in our main character's house, and they're talking about what they need to do now. And they're like, you know what? We gotta step up. We gotta be the heroes. I know the media is disrespecting us, the media doesn't care about us, but we need to get up and go out there, and we need to be the ones to save the day. We can do this. And then that character's mom walks in and goes, don't mind me, I'm just here to do the laundry. Mom, we're in the middle of a superhero meeting. Oh yeah, I bet you are. No, we're gonna go out there, we're gonna save the day. I bet you are. You're sure gonna save the day. And then she leaves, and they just stand there in silence and go, wow, this is an all-time low. Even our mom doesn't believe that we can do this. And I was like, that is a great joke. I really dug that joke, and it perfectly captured what this book is supposed to be going for. But then there's a lot of times in the middle where it goes for something fun, and I'm like, that's kind of fun, I guess, but I think you might be leaning into it a little too hard. Like, in this world, everyone has superpowers because a van drove around and sprayed everyone with this light. And all the people who got sprayed with this light gained superpowers. So everyone in this book keeps praising this mystery van like it's a religious figure. There are churches built to this van. People say, in the name of the holy van, what in the name of the van is going on? And that was charming up to a point, and then I feel like it kind of went over it, and I was like, yeah, I get it. Okay, it's, the van is a big, yeah, okay, gotcha. But then there's other moments in here where I'm kind of like, I don't even know what kind of joke you're going for on this. Like, they introduced this brand new character towards the end of the first issue called Savage, and she gets brand new powers, and you see her life, you see where she's living, and her family is super religious, and like the little kids in the family are going, Jesus is the one who drove the van. No, it was this thing. And they start arguing back and forth. I'm like, okay, you're really pushing this van thing a little too hard. You have brought the van too many darn times in this first issue. So yeah, there are those moments where it's trying to go for fun and charming, and it kind of falls a little bit. But then there are those moments where it succeeds. But I feel like for the vast majority of the time, it's right there in that middle, where it's like, I guess this kind of works. All right. But another problem that this book has, it really just kind of zips past characters way too quickly. Like, this is one of those books where it never really gives you the best introduction to characters. Like I mentioned, the character of Savage, who pops up at the end of the first issue, she is great on paper, but all of it's on paper. Like, when she pops up, they talk about how she never really had her own voice. She always just wrote in her diary all the time. She was always afraid to speak up. Her parents always told her never to speak up. So she was very quiet, but she's got all these emotions building up inside of her. I was like, dude, that's great, because she then gets this power where whatever she writes down in her journal, she's able to basically cause that to happen. So she's able to bring about all of her angry emotions through this journal of hers. Man, that's really darn cool. But what I just told you is exactly what this book does, like at the very end of the first issue. We had not seen this character at all until the end of the first issue, and then the narrator just comes and goes, this is Savage, or at least that's what she's going to be known as. This is what her entire life backstory has been. It's like, that's not the best way to introduce this character. It would have been great if throughout this first issue, you had kind of been showing us her in her daily life. Like, she was completely disconnected from the heroes. Like, we were following the heroes, we were following the villains, and then every now and again we would just cut to this random girl with no superpowers, and we're like, what does she have to do with anything? But we see her life, we see how her parents treat her, we see how her family treats her, we see how everyone around her treats her, we see how she's using this journal, and she's writing down her true feelings, and then at the end she gets these powers as the heroes show up to meet her. That would have been way better. That would have been a much better way to introduce this character. And it kind of does that with some other characters. Like in the beginning of the second issue, we meet another sidekick, and she's got this great running joke of she just doesn't care. She's basically Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Rec, if she was a superhero, because everyone's like, we need you to go and solve this case. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But we get all that at the beginning of the second issue. She wasn't in the first issue at all, and you know, it's a lot of telling and not showing, is what I feel. It's a lot of coming in here and just the narrator going, this is what this character's backstory is. So I had some problems with that. But in the end, I do think that this is really charming. I do think that it is a very fun book. If you do like quirky, lighthearted superhero stuff, then I would say go ahead and check it out. Like, if you are a fan of the Young Avengers, then I would definitely say that this is a good substitute for that at the moment. Next book I'm going to talk about is Elephant Man 2261. Now, as I said, Elephant Man is a long-running series that has been over at Image, and this is kind of a spin-off. I don't know if it is going to be a continuing ongoing series, if like Elephant Man just stopped at Image and now it's continuing over here, or if this is just a spin-off series that they're doing just for Comixology. But here's the thing about Elephant Man. I worked in a comic store for 5 years, and in that 5 years, at some point in time, every single employee in that store would look at a copy of Elephant Man and go, I really kind of want to start reading this because I'm really curious about it. And then they would put it back on the shelf and never touch it. Every single person at my store at some point in time while working there would utter the phrase, I want to know what Elephant Man is about. And yet none of us would ever read it. So this was really my first time to actually read Elephant Man. And the first thing that I have to praise this book for is that this series has been going for years at Image, and this was my first time ever jumping into it. First page, they give you a summation of how this world works, what the Elephant Men are, and I was instantly able to understand it. Someone who has never read Elephant Men was able to pick this book up and go, oh, I get it. That is great when you are able to do that. So high praise there. Basically, the world of Elephant Men, it's in this post-apocalyptic, well, not really post-apocalyptic, more of just a world that has been at war for a long-ass time, and large chunks of the world are destroyed because of it, but the rest of the world is just kind of gritty and dark, but it still operates, it's still fine, it goes on day to day as it should. But in these future wars, scientists created this race of soldiers called the Elephant Men, which are basically animal-human hybrids. They are these huge, giant crossbreeds of animals and humans, and they basically are unstoppable giant soldiers, but then the war eventually ended. And after the war ended, these elephant men just had to return to regular society, and everyone looks at them as, yeah, you're just kind of giant monsters that were created solely to kill things. We don't want you around. They are very much treated as like second-class citizens. And this is the story of one of those characters who I'm assuming is the main protagonist of the regular Elephant Men series. As I said, I have no knowledge of Elephant Men. But I'm assuming they're the main protagonist of the regular Elephant Men. Is a story of back when he was fighting in the war, and a friend of his who was one of the best soldiers there, this guy who they called Tiny because he was the biggest one among them. And he also had this huge heart because they were hunting down this woman who had been murdering and just torturing the other elephant men. It's the story of back in the war when they were able to find them, and then Tiny ends up just basically being attacked by her, and he ends up losing his trunk, which is pretty darn graphic. And then at the end of this book, it cuts to the present, and it is our protagonist having to go and see him now that he has died. And it's him with his partner just talking about, yeah, man, this is what he did during the war. Oh, this is all the things they meant to me. It's sad to see that he finally died. Man, it's sad whenever that happens to any of us. He was such a big guy. It was probably his heart that gave out. And then they get there and they discover, yeah, it wasn't natural causes. It wasn't old age. It wasn't his heart giving out. Someone murdered him. So this is going to be a mystery about who murdered this old friend of our protagonist. And was it possibly that person who took away his trunk back during the war? Could it be something from their past? Who knows what this has to do with? So it is actually a great mystery. It went by really short. As you guys can tell, I had a lot to say about Superfreaks. This book, it's like 21 pages, and it didn't feel like it. It flew by. I can't snap. There we go. I'm snapping them, everyone. Snapping my fingers. It flew by. I was actually shocked when I got to the end of that, because like, that was like what, like 10 pages? I looked at it, no, that was 21 whole pages. Yeah, so it is a quick read, but I will say for anybody out there who has, like me and all the other employees at my store, ever looked at Elephant Men and said, I kind of want to start reading this. This actually is a great jumping on point. I was able to understand this world instantly from this first issue, and it's a really darn good mystery, and I'm actually intrigued by this world. It actually is one of the most original semi-dystopian future. Let's go with that. It's one of the most original dystopian futures I've ever read in a book. Now, the next book is from the same writer as Elephant Man. It's called Ask for Mercy, and I am hoping this one becomes great. I really am, because it's a dark, supernatural horror book. I freaking love those types of stories. You guys know me, I'm a big horror junkie. And as I was reading this in the beginning, I was like, this is all the stuff that I like in dark supernatural horror. All right, I'm intrigued. But then it kind of fell apart towards the end. So I'm kind of in the middle on this one, but I'm still holding on hope. There still is totally the opportunity to turn this whole thing around. It is very intriguing, if nothing else. Basically, it stars this real estate agent, Mercy, and you don't get a lot of backstory on her at first, but you do get an understanding that, okay, she is working her ass off to impress her clients. She goes in there every single day trying to get the big name clients to come on board. She went to a gym to study fencing, not because she likes fencing, but just because all the rich hoity-toity people in Europe are doing fencing, so that's where she can actually make these connections. She is working her butt off to get people to want her to be their real estate agent. People keep snagging her clients away. She is calling people at the beginning of this book saying, hey, just wanted to follow up. And remember, if you call back, ask for mercy. Don't ask for, if anybody else says anything, you ask for mercy. So you do get that sense right away. Other people have been stealing her clients from her, and she's kind of in a bad situation right now. But then, as she is at this outside cafe, Satan appears. And they don't say that's who it is, but oh my god, it could not be more obvious. It is a dude in a big suit with slick back hair, pointy ears, and long ass fingernails. And she is thinking to herself, I'd really like another cappuccino. And then he just goes, I'll get you that cappuccino. Like, she doesn't question at all how he was able to read her thoughts. He just pops up there and just gets her a cappuccino. I was like, yes, I know your entire backstory. I know all this. I know how you suffer. I know how hard you work. But do you see that door over there? Yeah, I never noticed that door before. That door has always been there. don't you want to see what's behind it? And then she goes in there, and it's hell. But she's actually impressed with it. Like, she actually was like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I was like, okay, you're an interesting character. She then finds herself in this really big, beautiful looking field, and suddenly planes start shooting at her. And they're World War II Nazi planes that they come to life like Transformers and turn into giant demons. And this is when this book kind of fell apart for me, because she's supposed to be brave. She's supposed to be someone who will take on anything, but she just witnessed 2 Nazi planes turn into giant demons in front of her, and she just pulls out her fencing sword and just goes, all right, come on, bring it. Like, she's actually like excited to fight these 2 giant monster machines. I'm like, okay, I know that you're trying to show that she's like brave and a badass and all that. Nobody would look at 2 giant demon machines coming at them after going into this strange gateway with a mystery figure who just faded away and not at least have questions. Like, she has no question about it. That's what my problem with this is. Like, if you want her to be brave, fine, but she's just like, alright, whatever, I'll roll with this. It's like, no one would roll with this. Everyone would have questions. But after witnessing her standing up to these machines and trying to be a badass, these 3 other demon figures pop up and just go, all right, I guess you are worthy of being here. I guess the big boss did bring you here for a reason. We're gonna show you around. You're with us now. So I really want to know where this goes, because I'm really enjoying how they set this character up in the beginning. And I think that suddenly this character being sent into hell, but not necessarily viewing that as a bad thing, is very intriguing. And the artwork is gorgeous. This is easily the best looking of any of these books. The artwork is jaw-droppingly insane. Like, the people have so many emotions to them while being subtle. Like, it's never overplayed. The designs of the characters are very memorable. Like I said, the satanic guy who pops up, you instantly knew it was Satan, but that's not a bad thing. Like, they conveyed that very well. The details on everything are so precise. And then when they have to go into hell and you get that big old splash page, oh my god, it looked fantastic. You could look at that and actually understand how, even though this is a horrible thing, our protagonist is like, oh wow, it's so pretty. Yeah, the art is stunning in this. So I do really want to know where this goes. Out of all the books I read, this is the one out of the 3 ongoing series that I am the most intrigued to see where it goes. I say that because the final book that we're talking about, Savage Game, is a one-shot. And I'm very, very mad about that. Alright, so Savage Game, they promote it as being the modern-day island of Dr. Monroe, and I get that. I can actually understand it. I totally see that. In fact, I even drew that comparison myself while reading it. But they also leave out that there is a massive dose of Jurassic Park thrown into that mix. What this is about is, it is about a man whose father basically stole all the inheritance from their mother when she died, and he used all that money to basically create an island that is doing nothing but high-level, crazy-ass scientific research. He goes there, and he sees that they have developed a cure for AIDS, a cure for cancer, they have developed a cure for Alzheimer's, they have developed tomatoes that actually have high levels of protein because they are spliced with meat, they're spliced with cow genes, so that way they can actually grow tomatoes out in Africa where there is protein deficiencies and actually be able to help people out with that. They are basically curing world hunger over here. They're doing amazing, incredible research. How on earth are they funding all this? Because even though their mother was loaded, they did not have the kind of money that they needed to be able to run this facility to this level. They have also gotten all these scientists to crossbreed a bunch of different animals. Well, not crossbreed, that's a whole different other thing. To splice the genes together of different types of animals to basically try and create the greatest predators alive, and they've turned it into a sporting event. This thing opens up with our main character. He's getting the tour of the place. He's seeing all the incredible stuff they're doing. Then he sees his father standing on this stage going, welcome, welcome everyone. Here's all the incredible things that we've done. Isn't this fantastic? Here's the amazing ways that they're changing the world. But you don't care about any of that. Time for blood sport, everyone. And I just looked at this and went, what? That was that record scratch moment. I went, this is not where this story was going. It was a little bit jarring, because we open up with, we are curing these diseases and ending world hunger. 2 pages later, we now have a wolf eagle fighting a tiger elephant. And our main character goes to see his father, goes, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Like, no, I have my reasons, son. Don't you worry about that. And it's also revealed at that point that the entire island is being run by this super massive computer. And every time that he's seen his father, it's just a hologram that's being projected. The hologram allows his father to be projected anywhere across the island at any time, and he can see everything happening on the island at once. That was actually kind of a cool idea. But there comes that moment in which one of the animals tries to break free, and I just went, yeah, we all know what's happening here. Like, up until this point, when it got to the animals being spliced together thing, and they're doing all this scientific research, I was like, okay, it's Island of Dr. Monroe. I hadn't even read the description where they flat out say it's based on Island of Dr. Monroe. But when it got to that point, I went, it's Jurassic World. It is 100% Jurassic World. Because you've even got, like, tourists on this island. You've got sports fans who came here to cheer this thing on. And as they sit there, and the son, who is completely opposed to all this, is forced to watch these animal hybrid creatures tear each other apart. You see in the stands all these fans there with like t-shirts of the different animals there cheering this thing on. And then they start talking about how the animals were named after the sponsor companies. Like there's an energy drink that is sponsoring a cobra mixed with a bat creature. It's so bizarre to me that how on earth do you have fans of this? How do you have merchandise for this? How do you have sponsors for this thing when this is like the first time it's ever happened? This has never happened before. It was the premiere event of this, and yet you already have sponsors and merchandise and fans? It's so bizarre. And I kept looking at this going, why are you doing this? Why on earth would you go, oh, we're doing all these incredible things, but also we're going to make chimeras fight each other? Why? It made zero sense to me. But then there comes this moment in the story in which the dad reveals, yeah, man, we're doing all this incredible, amazing work. You think we have the money for that? Yes, I was able to use the money from your mother's inheritance in order to start this whole thing up. That ran out long ago. We had to do dumb, crazy shit that idiots would pay for by the millions in order to keep this stuff going. And at that point, I was just like, I can't really dispute your logic on that. Okay, I understand this plot now. So yeah, you have this big corporation that's created monsters and are forcing them to fight each other on an island full of tourists. Guess you can't imagine where this story is going. Yeah, guess what? The second in command of this island, who has been mad at the father this whole time because he promised he would be able to cure his son, he comes in here and just goes, yeah, guess what? You didn't cure my son. My son died, and you've been spending all your money to create giant monsters. This is dumb. You are the real monster. I created a backdoor into your giant AI program that runs the entire island. I'm in control of it now. All the monsters are free. Guess you guys didn't see that coming. So I will reveal that part of the story to you because, yeah, man, we all saw that part coming. But as I was reading this, I was just like, alright, it's really dumb, but it's kind of fun. And you did think out enough of the explanation behind all this for me to not go, well, wait a darn second. Like every time I had a wait a minute thing, they would come in here and give me just enough of an explanation to go, alright, I'll watch the scorpion shark fight this other monster, whatever. I guess it'll be fun. And it was actually kind of fun. I was enjoying this. But then towards the end of this, it takes a crazy ass turn with the father and with the son that I did not see coming, and it actually injects some heart into this and actually really surprised me and actually made me kind of understand the villain a little bit, and then it ends on this massive ass cliffhanger. I went, okay, I'm digging this now. Alright, well, when does the next issue of this come out? Elephant Man is ongoing. Superfreaks is all wrapped up and done. Ask for Mercy is ongoing. This was a one-shot. They have nothing else planned, and they ended up on this massive-ass cliffhanger. And it was at that moment when I realized I wasn't getting any more of this story. Oh, god damn it, I'm hooked. God damn it, I was looking at this thing, and I was laughing at how incredibly bizarre and stupid it was. But by the time you got to the end, I wanted more. I would have binge read the crap out of this if there were more issues of it, and there weren't. So I'm really disappointed. Yeah, man, I'm kind of upset that there's no more to this. This was actually a really fun book. It is really dumb, but it's just smart enough to make me go, all right, whatever. I'll just pay attention to the fun stuff here. You did give me enough of an explanation, and as I said, at the end of this, I was genuinely shocked, and I was actually starting to care about these characters. So yeah, man, this was the big surprise. Because even though I knew nothing about any of these books when I started, when I began reading this one, I went, oh, this is really dumb. And then it kind of turned out to be something special. I really did enjoy this, and I'm really hoping they bring it back for more. I kind of need to know what happens to the eagle wolf and the bear deer. Oh god, they're so weird looking, but it's so fun and so stupid, and oh god, I love it. It's like a Fast and Furious film mixed with Jurassic Park and the Island of Dr. Monroe. So yeah, man, I can't believe I'm saying this because it started off probably the worst out of any of these. This is my big recommendation from any of these. If you're only going to check out one of these, this is the one that I am definitely coming in here and saying it's actually kind of darn fun. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Comixology original books. None of them were bad. In fact, the worst of them were probably, in my opinion, Ask for Mercy and Superfreaks. But Ask for Mercy, I'm still excited to see where that book goes, and there were still a ton of positives in there. And Superfreaks, there were a bunch of positives in there, and even if it was not really something that I enjoyed all that much, I can totally see the audience that would enjoy that book. Every single one of these books, I do think have an audience. I do think there are people out there who would absolutely love these books. So if you want to check those books out, you can always go to Comixology. Trust me, they're going to have this on the front page for a long ass time, so you will be able to find them. Or you can also get them by going through Amazon. You can buy the digital copies there, or you can even buy them on Kindle if you don't have a Comixology account. And I will put a link to how you can buy each of these 4 books on on Amazon down in the description below. And if you go through that link and buy any of these books, or if you just happen to buy anything else on Amazon, we will get a small cut of the profits. It's a great way to help this channel grow and also get yourself something cool at the same time. Plus, you can also always help support this channel by following us on Twitter and Twitch at Professor Thorgy and just sharing these videos around the web. It is the best way to help this channel grow. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.